Okay, let me cut this down. So, welcome, guys. Welcome to the channel. I was about to say welcome to the podcast. This is not the podcast this time. This is the YouTube channel. So, thank you guys for joining in, tapping in today. Um, I plan for this to be a simple video. Yes, it's dark on purpose. The video is dark on purpose. You may see a glimpse of light when I look at my notes uh, to guide me through the conversation. But other than that, it's going to be dark. So you can focus on the topic at hand and not anything else. And plus, this is just what I feel like doing right now. So, uh, without further, I hope you guys are doing well. Um, so, what prompted me to do this conversation online with you guys? Because speaking um, like this is, I'm still getting accustomed to it, and it's been years. Um, but I just see that there's a lot of different talk about engaging in spirituality and what that may mean. Um, and I'm not the person that has all the answers for you. Um, that's not what this is about. This is just about sharing with you um, some of the experiences that I have experienced, and what has worked for me, what didn't work for me, um, how they played, I guess, an integral part on my journey and coming into my spirituality. So here we go. Um, One of the first things that I want to point out is that when you start coming into spirituality, when you start studying spirituality and what that may mean to you, a lot of times you will be isolated. You will go through an this a solo journey. What that looks like? That looks like going through an experience that feels very traumatic. Um, and in that traumatic experience, you may call on people to help you. So, for instance, let's just say if you've been working at a job for 10 years, or you've been working at a job for 3 years, or 2 years, because right now, a year feels like 10 years. And you have a plan about what this job is doing for you, how you going to get to the next level, explore other different aspects of your job, getting elevated and things of that nature, and how you are going to move up the ladder, right? Let's just say if something happens where you get fired from the job, you get let go, or you get laid off from the job. From there, let's just say that you call on, I don't know, parents, people in close proximity to you for help as you navigate being laid off or fired or what may have you. You may find that those people that you call on aren't able to help you. You may, and not just not able to help you. They may say that they're going to help you, and then when the time comes, they ghost you. They're nowhere to be found. They're not answering their phone. Um, which throws you in a place of anxiety, which throws you in a place of panic, which puts you in a place of trauma and distrust. Um, then let's just say from there you lose your house, then you lose your car. Um, you have to go and stay with someone. You find out that the person that you stay with irritates you. They treat you like crap. You're sleeping on the couch and they don't seem to want you there. These are the kinds of things that happen when you are starting to come into your spiritual journey. This is These are traumatic events, or seemingly feel like traumatic events that happen, that are divinely calculated and divinely guided so that you will go on this spiritual journey solo. I'm not saying that this happens to everybody, it happens for everybody. I'm just saying for the most part, there's usually a catalyst that happens in your life, a situation that happens in your life that aligns you with the spiritual path when it's time for you to go on that path. Especially if you've been called on that path and you have been ignoring it. Your spirit guides, the spiritual realm will get you on your spiritual path one way or another. So that's one of the things. Um, in this time when you are coming into spirituality on your own, you will do it. You will be conducting what it seems like yourself, right? What does that even mean? Developing myself in spirituality. What does that mean? Um, most of the things that we have learned prior to coming into our own on this spiritual journey is what we have been taught. That doesn't mean that it's a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that when someone told you to look both ways before you cross the street, you remembered it, and now you look both ways before you cross the street. Understanding that even that is a form of conditioning, and how that conditioning has played a part in your life, how it has created a foundation in your life, how it has created uh, the foundation and perspective on how you look at crossing the street, or how you even look at listening to someone when they warn you about something. All of those things will come into question. Uh, when I say come into question, why did you learn that way? Who taught you that way to learn? Um, the the fundamentals of learning and what that means to you, you will begin to question, right? And uh, that's what I mean about developing yourself. Uh, Getting up, let's just say if you lived in a family where you got up on Sundays early in the morning and there was music playing and blasting, and that's how you were that's how you watched and learned what to do on a Sunday. That's a part of grooming. That's a part of uh, learning, and then taking on those traits and perpetuating that same behavior. Why you do those things will come into question, right? Because what you're doing is you are releasing yourself from any brainwashing, any conditioning, whether you deem it good or bad, and getting to the truest, most purest form of you in your soul. So that's what I mean about developing self. Um, so going back, and when we talk about traumatic experiences that are catalysts for you, um, jumping or jumping on your spiritual journey. Some people in the spiritual community call that the dark night of the soul. So when you hear spiritualists say, a lot of you may see people comment on like a thread or something, or the comment section, going through the dark night of the soul. When we talk about traumatic catalysts or traumatic situations that are catalysts, for you to go on your spiritual journey, which means going more within, because a lot of times prior to us going into our spiritual journey, we live on the outside. We live by confirmation in the materialistic realm, in the physical realm, which is more of the more masculine aspect, opposed to the more feminine aspect, which is more of the intuition, um, and going within. So you may hear people talk about the dark night of the soul. That's what that dark night of the soul usually is referencing when you hear it. Recognizing karmic patterns and traits. When you are, as you are navigating on the spiritual journey, and when I was talking about grooming and brainwashing, whether it's from your family or whether it's from society, as you're developing yourself in your spirituality and you begin to question who you are, why you are, this will unfold into you learning what karmic patterns are and what karmic traits are. So you may hear people talking about karma in a sense where if you do something negative is going to come back to you. Well, that's one way of looking at it. It can also be, if you put out something positive may come back to you. Or it could mean just learning what projection is and understanding your energy, and how you're able to project your energy onto other people, or how you're able to absorb energy from other people, or from uh, energy just as a whole on this planet, and how energy moves. So the study of energy comes into play when you are studying karmic patterns and traits. Um, this is where you go into the uh, more the occult studies of as above, so below. What you what is inside projects itself outside. What was what action took place actually took place internally first, and now what you see happening as a manifestation on the outside in the physical realm is a direct result of what is going on within someone's emotions and their mind first. Okay, hope you guys are following me so far, right? Now, as you learn those traits, you may also learn about ancestors and what the ancestral realm is. Because once you start to recognize energy patterns and karmic patterns and karmic traits, you may be led to who you were before the brainwashing happened. Then you may look at your parents. From your parents, you may look at your grandparents. You may begin to understand pattern recognition with your ancestors and how it spilled on to you and why you are who you are in this particular space and time, or space and opportunity. Because some people say time is a construct. Cool. Let's go with that. So that's where when we're talking about ancestral reconciliation, you may hear the words ancestral veneration. And that means tapping into the ancestral realm, the roots of who you are. And it goes further and further, but I'm not going to go there in this video. I'm just touching on some of the aspects that comes into play when you're developing your spirituality within yourself. Okay. So, as we're talking about energy and energetic history, energetic presence, energetic futures, you begin to explore dimensions and parallel universes, and how every action that you take creates a timeline. So you may say, some people say, for example, I was driving down the street, and as I was driving down the street, someone called me, and when they called me, I picked up the phone. I wound up missing my turn, and it took me an extra 15 minutes to get home from work than it usually would have, because I made that turn. And then when I got home uh, and saw the news, I seen that there was actually an accident that happened on the path that I usually would have taken home, that I didn't take this time because of the phone call. Uh, Slightly interrupted me, and I went a different way. These are different actions that you take that create different results, which create different timelines, which open you up to different dimensions. Okay, that's on your solo journey, or on your journey coming to spirituality. You are learning energetic imprints and what that means to you. Okay. Some of the energetic imprints that you may come into, or that you may study, or start to come into more of a understanding of is coming home into your body. That's when you hear people talk about prayer uh, and meditation and different aspects of meditation and what that means. And you hear people talk about becoming more present. You may think, I'm already in my body, so how is prayer and meditation and practicing presence, how is that going to make me more into my body? You'll be surprised. If you've ever had an experience with deja vu, then you can look at that as an experience as you coming into your body more than you have been in your body. A lot of us think that we are actually present in our bodies. A lot of times we aren't present in our bodies. We are in the ethers. We are in the energetic realm. We are in our mind, and our mind takes us into different realms. A lot of times we are in our emotions, and our emotions takes us to different realms. A lot of times we're thinking about what that person said to us last week at work, or what that person said to us last week at our family gathering, or in our friend group. What that meant, how that made us feel, or that person that broke up with us or that we broke up with. We're thinking about how that made us feel and how that plays into how we're going to interact with people in the present moment. A lot of the things that you are carrying or that you're using as references, because our minds likes to use our experiences as references. When you're doing that, you're not necessarily in the present moment. You're gathering different experiences that have happened in your past, present, or future, because our living is not in a chronological sequence. It happens more in a spiral. So you've collected all this data, and you're thinking that you are prepping yourself for future things to happen, future happenings by using some of the experiences that you've been through, when really you're just holding on to the experiences and creating similar experiences in your future, um, by still being in that residual energy and recreating experiences based on the unhealed parts of you that is still lingering in those experiences, and projecting that into your future experiences or your present experiences. So when you have deja vu and you feel like, oh, I've been here before, that's really I'm actually present in this experience, and this feels very familiar to me, like I've experienced it before. And some people may say, hey, you have experienced it before in another lifetime in a parallel universe. Well, the only reason why you're experiencing that now, the thought that you are have experienced it before, is because you are present in that particular moment, which means that you are more grounded in your body and in your present moment at that time. And there's a way to ground yourself in your body in this particular time to help you navigate where you are now and come into understanding where you are now, what brought you to this moment where you are now, by utilizing the tools of meditation, prayer, yoga, whatever kind of way of meditation that you use that works for you. Working and understanding elements. So you may hear people talk about getting into nature, working with the five elements, which are water, earth, fire, air, and spirit. So You may notice that in the star, the 5-pointed star, the Star of Baphomet, in occult practices, when you're dealing with those 5 elements. So, a lot of times we have been taught to work with certain elements in our ancestral DNA. Let's say, for instance, when you're growing up and you get your hair done, um, to get rid of the hair in a comb or brush, you may have a parent that burned the hair. You may have a parent that flushed the hair down the toilet. So you have one person is using the element of fire to get rid of something. Some people are using the element of water. You may have some people who actually bury the hair to use the element of earth. Um, you may have some people that pray over the hair. That could be using the element of air, right? Spirit. So those are ways that you will. Those are some of the things that could be passed down to you to learn. Like, could give you some sort of foundational value as to what your people did in the bloodline and what elements they work with, and what could be passed down to you, or how to recreate that and develop how you want to work with elements on your spiritual path in your present moment. Okay. Um. Now, this next section uh, is important, and the next section I want to talk about is working with certain deities, right? When we're talking about working with elementals, like I was just talking about, in some religions and some spiritual practices, um, deities, orishas, um, uh, gods and goddesses may come up. Now, that's not what this video is about. Um, Maybe I'll make a video on that, maybe I won't. Um, But studying deities before working with them is extremely important. Um, Now, as we've spoken about all these different aspects of coming into your own and your spirituality, uh, when you are developing yourself and your spirituality, when you're going through what we call the dark night of the soul, many a times you are going through initiations that are testing your integrity, how you value self, and how you value life, and how you navigate through life. A lot of times you're going to go through initiations to see who you are at heart. Because when you think about manifestations, working with deities, and as you go further along and exploring your spirituality and how that may unfold for you, nothing will work for you if your heart isn't in the right place. I'm going to say that again. If your heart is not in the right place, if your heart isn't open, flourishing, and and set apart or relinquished or healed from trauma, or in the process of healing from trauma, whether in this lifetime or past lifetimes, none of this other stuff will work for you in a way where it will be whole. You may get certain things, but it may be very temporary. You may achieve certain things, but you would never be quite fulfilled if your heart isn't in alignment. Okay. So you can look at the dark night of the soul is initiation um, in integrity. Um, because I find that people talk about deities, rishas and gods and things of that nature as if, or even jinns, like they can just kind of use them or control them and things of that nature. Um, that has not ever been my practice, and I would advise you not to do that. Okay, so that's it on that. Um, Animal totems, learning animal totems and understanding animal totems and how they relate to you on your path uh, usually will be a thing that you will uh, touch on. Um, some more than others, but usually animal totems are very important. Um, Numbers, a lot of people start with numbers also as a way to understanding, because what you're doing is you're studying pattern recognition. You're studying uh, what magnetism is, what energy is, and how magnetism works with energy uh, on this earthly plane that we're on and beyond. Um, and last but not least, the development of your intuition, balancing that masculine and feminine energy. Because all of these things that we talked about, like animal totem and numbers, a lot of those are physical aspects that take you through initiations to strengthen your intuition so you'll be able to understand what you're being told or how you're being guided by the spiritual realm through your intuition. A lot of times you can't just jump right into that because you have a lot of shedding of the old aspects of you that worked in the material realm and was codependent on the material realm so much that you lost who you were spiritually. And so you are developing who you are spiritually all over again in this particular space, in this phase. So, um, that's what I wanted to touch on tonight, this early night. Um, I appreciate you guys for joining in, and I hope that the volume is good. That's the first thing. And I hope that you learned something. And if you did, feel free to share, give it a thumbs up, or whatever your spirit leads you to do with it. But until next time, peace.